mantra words?
This is my mantra words. And I say this today.
Really?
I said it this morning.
Okay.
Be like the river, calm and smooth. Be like the river. Dark blue and pink clouds scatter themselves throughout the vast purple sky. I hear crickets quickly and continuously chirping. It's going to be a hot night. I pace around the house, cleaning up and straightening items. As I grab the candles, debating if I would light them, anticipation heightens. Maybe I should light them. Maybe I shouldn't. She'll be here in a minute. Okay, I'll light them. And that's how it opens up. And the young.
Hello, this is Barbara Dean Franklin. Welcome to my channel.
Hi, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Barbara Dean Franklin Show, Real Talk, Real People. I am your host, Barbara Dean Franklin, and today I have the awesome pleasure of sitting with my friend, my brother, Stéphane Parker. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it is a pleasure to sit with you, to finally sit with you, to talk about some of the awesome things that you are doing, talk about your books, Eternal Kiss, Eternal Bliss.
Oh, yeah.
Eternal Wishes coming soon.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Okay. I'm going to read your bio a little bit and then we'll, get into the show. Okay.
Sounds good.
So Stéphane Parker was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. He's been writing short stories and poems since he was in the first grade. His family has always known him to possess a vivid imagination and merciless drive once he's decided on something. So Stéphane began writing online since 2004. Once he was introduced to a social network called Xanga by Elizabeth Menasee. Since that time, he's written over 1,000 poems online for all to enjoy, critique, and share. During the time he's been writing online, he's truly understood how passionate passages could change someone's life. Upon receiving thousands of positive comments and remarks, he's refocused his aim and become determined to publish a poetry book. After an extensive search of self-publishing companies, Stéphane found that none of those companies felt right. So for the past couple of years, he's researched the steps of becoming a business owner. He started his own publishing company, resulting from what he learned. Now he's the proud CEO and regional president of Imperative Publishing, LLC, which will expand the vision that Stéphane has had since he was a small child to tell stories that people will enjoy and remember. He can be emailed at Stephane_Parker@yahoo.com. Again, welcome.
Thank you.
So what I like to do is I like to tell people how we met, how I met my guest. So Stéphane is a friend of a very good friend of mine, and everybody, if you remember my December 27, 2012 show, that will be with Bruce Bo Dillon, Bowtie Davis, and Stéphane is representing today because that is a Bo Dillon, not your average Bo.
Absolutely.
That he is wearing today. So Stéphane, it says that since you were a little kid, you like to write. I mean, where did it come from? Do you know?
Well, I've always had good teachers, so like my preschool teacher, my kindergarten teacher. I went to a private school, so we always had to put on our thinking caps and things like that. So everything was always visual, learning how to read as a kid. But it was one particular day, probably was maybe 5, 6, like I say, going into that first grade. And I was trying to do something. I was calling to my mother. And I was like, Mom, I wanted her to do something. I was just trying to get her attention being a kid. And I knew she was downstairs, so I ran downstairs. I wanted to see what she was doing. And she was reading a book. And I was still yelling to her like, Mom. But she didn't really realize that I was there. And then she said, what is it, fine? And I thought to myself, like, you couldn't hear me because you were reading a book. And,
captivated by that book.
And from that point, and she was reading a Stephen King book at the time. So at 5 or 6, I didn't really understand what she was reading. But I knew that if she could be hypnotized and so engrossed in that story, then I wanted to do that as well. And it started with, trying to impress my mother because she wanted to read anything and be engrossed in it, then I wanted her to read a story of mine. And from that point, 5 or 6 years old, I just kept writing and kept writing and kept writing.
Do you remember the first thing that you wrote?
Not necessarily, but I can be sure that it probably was a poem to my mother.
Okay.
It probably was something generic.
Okay.
You know, Happy Mother's Day, something I love you, but
Wow.
it started young.
How many sisters and brothers do you have?
An older brother.
You just have an older
one
brother?
older brother.
Oh, so you're the youngest?
I'm the youngest.
Oh, okay. Say, okay.
I'm the
then
baby.
I know how it is to impress your mother, you know. So you went to a private school, you grew up in Detroit, you're writing, I definitely want you to read something from your, from your book. But when you sent me this, you know, when we first met on Facebook, you know,
a few months back,
right? Yes, it's been a minute, you know. But when we met on Facebook and you sent me this, see, I took the hyphen out of Ste'phane, and I'm thinking Stephanie, especially. I'm sorry, you know.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
Especially as I started to read this, and I'm like, you know, man, this girl is brilliant. And then, you know, I started to read and I'm like, okay, well, why is she writing like, you know, the dress that she has on, I'm peeping out the peephole and, you know, different things like that. Then as I looked, I said, oh, no, this, you know, this is a guy.
It's a brother.
Yeah, this is a, you know, this is a guy. So I came back to you with like, let me apologize, you know, number one, because you just assume that, you know, men don't get it like this. You know, I mean, you could feel the love. You know, love starts, I believe, here and here.
Absolutely.
You know, and so you can tell you put a lot of time to have Eternal Kiss, a rhyming novel, the words that flow. I mean, but you could feel the love, and it's an eternal kiss. You know, because I'm like, okay, one day, you know, you know what's really going on. It takes vivid creativity, imagination to continue to flow. Where you know, what do you do when you get ready to sit down and do something? What is your process? You have to have a process.
I do. I don't want to reveal my secrets,
well,
you know, per se, but
don't tell your secrets, your trademarks. But
usually how it happens is, I mean, even on this show right now, you know, the Barbara Dean Franklin show, I'm taking everything in.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And the way this will relate to something, you know, I'm going to do in the future, you know, who knows how I'll pull these things together. But I'm always keeping my eyes open. I'm always keeping my ears open. But right before I sit down and write, I'm usually playing some Sade.
Okay.
You know, and just listening to her voice and, you know, the melody of the music. It usually has me, you know, connect with, you know, those higher vibrations. And honestly, I just zone out, you know, and I've always told people I can't necessarily take credit for everything that I write because, you know, 99% of the time I don't remember what I'm writing. You know, I just sit down and, you know, I become that channel and it comes out.
And it flows.
And it comes right on out. No blockage.
Okay.
No blockage.
Well, you know, that's a good thing. So before your, you know, your writing, you had a stint with spoken word. You get up and you speak before people. So is that the same process to get up to, I mean, you know, because when you do spoken word, I'm sure, you know, I know you have a flow, you understand, so sometimes I know it just comes off the top of your head, but sometimes, you know, because with spoken word, you probably do a process where you write and then you remember what you've written. So how is spoken word different from doing Eternal Kiss?
Well, for me, spoken word was much more stressful.
Okay.
You know, because I did have to write it and then memorize it.
Okay.
And then actually perform it. I wouldn't say I'm a performer. Right. You know, I don't really want to get up there and dramatize what I'm saying and act things out. And it was very hard for me to to memorize things. And actually, me and my cousin, we got together and we reversed. We went over flows, and actually I did my first poetry slam. And that world is different. That world is different. I got up there and I did my flow, which was 3 minutes. I mean, it took me a long time to memorize that, but I was just so stressful and I was so nervous. And luckily I didn't go to the second round because I didn't know that you had to prepare, you
another
know.
piece.
Oh man, I would have been in real bad shape. But it's much more stressful in the sense that I actually have to perform it now. You know, so you know, I'd rather just write it and be that channel and get it out. You know, instead of trying to memorize it.
Right, and I know those 3 minutes probably felt like forever, right?
Man, everybody was staring at me. I said, oh, am I saying the right words?
Okay.
But, oh, man.
Well, I think like with even in spoken word, you know, things are different. We were just talking about that whole, you know, platform, you know.
That'll work.
You know, in the city, and I talk about this almost every show that I have, the need to support one another.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so now that you're coming from the spoken word venue, to being a author, a published author at that. Those same people still need to support you, to see your flow, because you're not flowing on stage, but you sure enough are flowing on paper, And
I was hitting on poetry circuits in 2006, and I didn't start my publishing company until 2009.
Okay.
So all those time I had been talking about what I wanted to do, and everybody was like, yeah, I'm with you, let's rock and roll. And then by the time it came out, everybody kind of fell back.
Most
and,
definitely.
That didn't really surprise me, so.
Yeah, but again, we need to support one another. But the one thing that we have to be clear about is what God has for you. It's definitely for you.
Yeah,
okay, can't nobody take away from it. Can't nobody add to it, because God is into multiplying. All right, so we gonna, we just gonna let God do what it is that He does, and He does it so very well. But let's talk about your publishing company. I mean,
let's talk about it.
I love a young black brother, okay? Intelligent, doing things, not sitting waiting on things to happen, but making things happen. I'm always talking about, it's time to stop talking about it. It's time to be about it.
Absolutely.
So with Imperative Publishing, let's talk about that, how it came about, and, what advice you would give somebody who's thinking about something like that.
Well, Imperative Publishing started with, being that it's imperative, I felt as though this is what you need, and also it'll be, a change in the paradigm. I'm not always talking about, let's push out the sex, drugs, and the money and the dope dealing, and, it's enough of that. It's enough of that. So I'm feeling what I'm providing is what you really need. Those other things, we all have, I may want to read this book, but this is what you need. So based on just my passion going forward, I knew whoever gravitated toward my company are the ones that needed to be with my company. So it's going back to the need again. So I'm only working with those that really want to be on the team, and I'm only putting out books, and I'm only putting out calendars, and now I'm helping start a greeting line. So I'm only doing what I'm 100% passionate in. I don't have anybody in my ear saying, oh, Ste'phane, you should do this, or how about you change this? This is what I'm doing, and if I'm not feeling it, then I'm not putting it out.
So where your passion is, because when you're doing something that you're really passionate about, the money comes to you. You're not seeking, it's not, everybody wants to make money. You want to have multiple streams of income coming in. But when you're really passionate about something, sometimes you attract, what it is that you need. And again, you will blow up, but I like that, because when you talk about imperative publishing, you said it was imperative. These are the things that are imperative that people need. So that is really, really a good thing. But you also take pictures, though. Let's talk about. I love the name of that. Let's talk about the photography company.
It's Guerrilla Media.
Okay.
Guerrilla Media, and that started just. It's a play on gorilla, don't get me wrong. But, it's a breakdown of go-rilla. And I think what we really need to focus on is just being, not you need to be real. Let's be real with me. That's fine, but being real is, I'm saying, we saw the Dave Chappelle skits and things like that. It can go wrong, but, if you're being realer to yourself, then automatically things will fall in place. You don't have to be real for anybody else per se. I'm going to be real for you. No, I'm going to be realer for myself.
Right.
It'll naturally come across as everything being all right.
So every time, me and Bo Dylan, every time we talk, he always ended with gorilla.
Oh, gorilla.
Okay, so I'm always saying forilla, okay? And then I would tell him gorilla or go home.
See what I'm saying?
Okay, and I got it. And I got it like immediately when he said it to me, gorilla, and that's what we need to be, is real, for real,
Absolutely.
And as a people, we need to stand together and stand for something.
Stop all that fronting.
For real, not for play. That's one of my things.
I'm telling you,
it's serious.
It is
now, especially for such a time as this. And we won't even talk about the city of Detroit and the rising of the ashes, and then the things that are happening on today. I'm positive that things are going to change, because what is happening now, people are being exposed quickly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so in order for us to be different, we've got to walk, talk, people got to look at us and say, something about them. It's like that show V. I never looked at it, but they were walking among the people, but they were different, so we've got to walk among the people.
And
but
keep
we've
our
got to
integrity.
be most
I'm
definitely
telling
we have to have integrity. We have to keep our word. You know, it's like Barbara Dean Franklin. I'm like E.F. Hutton. When I speak, people listen, you know, because you could take what I say to the bank.
Straight to the bank.
I'm going to always do that. So if somebody wanted to, you know, to get with you to find out about your publishing company or to purchase your book, what means do you have for them to get in touch with you?
I would send them to the website, and that's ParkerRomance.com.
Okay. All
And that's
right.
ParkerRomance.com.
Okay.
Yeah, it's links on there, and you know they can find a little more information about me. They can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so I'm sending everybody to the website.
All right. Well, I'm going to just start, like, I want to just read this, like, first.
Okay.
When you first started. Now, I was told that we are mortals until the first kiss. Tonight is going to simply be amazing. I know it. I'm sitting here imagining your presence in my place. I'm growing anxious and finding it harder and harder to wait. Patient for your face. I glance out the window and gaze upwards. I control my excitedly jumping nerves by reciting a personal mantra of words. I want you to read. I want you to go ahead and read your words.
This is my mantra of words, and I say this today.
Really?
I said it this morning.
Okay.
Be like the river, calm and smooth. Be like the river. Dark blue and pink clouds scatter themselves throughout the vast purple sky. I hear crickets quickly and continuously chirping. It's going to be a hot night. I pace around the house, cleaning up and straightening items. As I grab the candles, debating if I would light them, anticipation heightens. Maybe I should light them. Maybe I shouldn't. She'll be here in a minute. Okay, I'll light them. And that's how it opens up. And the young gentleman, he's preparing this dinner because they're celebrating their 1 year anniversary.
Right.
And as he's preparing dinner, I mean, he's nervous like, you know, any man that has found that one should be on that 1 year anniversary. And she comes by and she brings some balloons, and you know they chat briefly, and you know, and they engage in that kiss, and that's when it happens.
And my thing is,
that's
like,
when it happens.
when you wrote this, was there that one person that you were thinking of, or you just went to a place in your mind about the way things should be?
Well, I've always had, ever since going back as a little kid, I've always had this image of her.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Whoever she may be. And going into starting Eternal Kiss, that's what I had in mind. I just had her. You know, it wasn't, you know what I'm saying, girl A or girl B.
Right.
It was just her. And, you know, I just wanted to make sure that I had that connection as real as possible, because a lot of things writing into Eternal Kiss, I felt.
Okay.
Maybe not as magnified or maybe not as embellished, but I felt it. I felt it. So I know that if I can have something that maybe, you know, half true per se, to have something 100% true, then I already know that the feelings I have over here, they have to match what I'm writing about.
Exactly.
You know, Gerald Levert say, I want the love that I sing about.
I know.
It's
That's
so,
like you want to love that you write about.
And I got it.
Okay.
And I got
That's
it.
good. That's good. And her is really a blessed person
Absolutely,
too.
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm happy for you, you know, because every woman wants to have that special somebody that they can walk with, that they can be with, that anticipates their every need, you know, and it's a reciprocal thing. You know, you feel that way, I feel that way. You know, somebody you could spend the rest of your life with. You don't have to worry about, you know, I shouldn't have to worry. You go out about your day, whatever you say is what you say, you know. I don't have to stress about, you know, what my man is doing, because I trust you wholeheartedly. When I read the words of your book, you know, I mean, just the words that you use and the flow. I talked about in one of my earlier shows with a young man, and we came out, we were talking about celibacy, and he was talking about, he had written a book called Are You Open to an Open Relationship, you know, and just the things that you know, not the physical part of it necessarily, but just the mental part, you know, because when you're trying to do more than one thing, it's really, you know, it's really
exhausting.
Hard. Very.
It's exhausting.
Very, you know, and you got to try to, you know, especially if you're not being open and you're not being real honest about it,
Absolutely.
you know, then you've got to remember who you said what to, but when you flow in an honesty, you know, when you care about somebody and you carry them, you know, you carry them in your heart, you know, and then you think about it. And what I said on that show is that the man who the next relationship that I'm involved in, you know, he'd have to make love to my mind
Absolutely.
before he'd ever be in the presence of my
Absolutely.
body, you
Absolutely.
know. And this is a mind, you know, this is a love-making, mind-blowing experience, eternal kiss, because it lasts throughout the book, from the beginning to the end. I haven't read the end of the book, but I went to the back of the book, you know, to try and find it. But, you know, you have to be a very different young man, you know, and I know your mom and your dad have to be very proud of the man that you are, you know, today. I don't know what you did when you was a little snot-nosed boy, you know. It was like, I don't know if you were being bad or whatever.
Getting a lot of whoopings.
Okay. But those whoopings helped you to, you know,
did.
really become the man that.
We laugh all the time about that.
What else does Stéphane Parker visualize?
I mean, besides my writing, like I said, my photography, I really do love images. So like I said, we're going to move into doing the movies, you know what I'm saying, full time. And I mean, pretty much helping others promote, you know, through the visual medium. And like you said, I want to get together with you and do some commercials. And I mean, just everything, you know, even the child that you're doing something with the child.
Yeah,
everything needs to be, you know, at a professional level, and that's one thing that attracted me to the show. And I said, Bruce, man, hook me up with your girl, hook me up with your girl. You know, I want to get on there because he was on there. You know, he's sitting, you know, Bruce, you know, he's sitting
so
back,
cool,
you know, he all poised.
Unibob.com.
You know, with my bow tie. So I mean, everything is like you said, it's coming together. And like I said before the show, you know, once you get in that groove, whether it's positive or negative, it's hard to get out. But since it's good, you know, we gonna stay in that groove.
Okay,
we gonna stay in that groove.
Okay. I always tell my you know, my godson, and he thinks I'm corny because I'm always like, you know, when you on a roll, I'm on a roll with a side of slaw. Let's keep it going, you know, let's keep it moving. So
I love it.
I can't wait. Now, Eternal Kiss, I let you read, you know. And
I don't know if we can read
Eternal Bliss, you'd have to whisper in my ear. We cannot read this one, you know, or, you know, but life is real, you know.
It is.
And that's what people need to know, real things. And our young brothers and sisters that are out here today, they need to know what real love is. And they have to understand that real love starts within.
Absolutely.
It's not something that you get on the outside first and then you think it works. It starts with you knowing how to love yourself, how to be real with yourself, you know.
Knowing yourself, like you said, you have to know what's going to upset you. You have to know what you can deal with, what you can roll with. Because if not, everybody's going to make you upset.
Most definitely.
You know, you're going to be in relationships for the rest of your life that'll never work out.
Okay, and it's like that. You take that same thing that you're dealing with over to the next relationship because you've never dealt with it, you know, full head.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Face to
sometimes
face.
you got to get to the root of, you know, why things are happening the way that they happen. What I want you to do for me is that, because there is some young girl, some young boy that is out there that maybe they have a vision, a dream, they want to do something, because I'm sure, you know, as a little boy, you wanted to write and you loved this, but it wasn't that easy for you to just jump into it. It took years of you doing this. So I want you to look into the camera and I want you to speak to somebody from your heart and tell them about hope and not giving up. Okay.
Well, to the young boy or girl out there, I mean, even a full-grown adult who may be having a talent and they kind of, you know what I'm saying, hitting that roadblock. What I really want to let you know is that you can do it. You know, I'm not just saying that, like, you can do it, and, you know what I'm saying, rah, and give you a pat on the back. But because this is your gift, something that you've always thought about, that means that it's in you to do it. Without you doing it, it wouldn't exist. You know, it may be that photograph book that you want to put out. It may be that video that you want to do, that book, whatever story that you have. Without you doing it and you publishing it, it will never be out. And you don't want to be so selfish to say, you know, I'm so scared to live my dream. That's selfish, because the next person that sees whatever you have the courage to do may be inspired. And it may be that next person that has the greatest amount of change. And when they reference back what got them started, it'll be your product. But you have to get it out. As simple as that.
Amen. You know, as I sat here and I listened to you talk, and I know that you're probably a young man. I watched you. You know, I didn't just invite you to the show,
Right, right.
but I've watched you. I listen to you and Bruce, the way you guys, flow, the positive way that you carry yourself, the way that you dress, the way that you speak, everything about you, I'm proud to call you my friend, and if there's anything that I can do to help you, I expect that we will do more things together, because what I said is that a lot of times we need to collaborate more, we need to partnership more. It is not a competition, it is things that we need to do. So I thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
I want you to give your website again so people can contact you before we go.
And that's going to be ParkerRomance.com. ParkerRomance.com. Parker Romance.
And appreciate you coming out, being with me on the show. I look forward to doing great and wonderful things with you soon. So I want to end my show the way I always do, thanking my fans for tuning in, thanking you for your support. I'm going to say, from my beating heart to your beating heart, I love you. You understand? Okay.